God'll get you for that one.
Maude is owned by Shout Factory.
God'll Get You for That, Walter is produced for entertainment purposes only.
Sponsored in part by Finley's Friendly Appliances.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter.
He always does.
Yes, he does. Welcome. My name is Tom Catt, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, the fabulous Miss Toni Homeperm.
That is I.
And yes, this is God'll Get You for That, Walter, a podcast where we discuss the famous 1970s sitcom that launched B. Arthur's career, along with Adrienne Barbeau's and Bill Macy's, and even Rue McClanahan's career, basically.
And Conrad
Baines. They all pretty much started.
Yes.
And Esther Roll. They all started on Maude.
Yes, they all did.
Well, sort of started
Well,
in the television world, they
yes,
did.
in that sitcom.
In that sitcom
world.
In that sitcom world.
By the way, this is episode 29.
Yes, this is episode 29. We're one away from 30.
I know. Who would have
Look at us.
I know, and they said it couldn't be done.
They said it couldn't be done.
They still tell me it can't be done. I have to block them.
Who are these people? I want to block them.
I just block them.
But yes, on today's episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter, we are discussing the second part of Maude's Facelift.
Maude's Facelift, yes.
Maude's Facelift Part 2, which aired originally on October 9th, 1973.
Mm-hmm.
And this was written by Norman Lear, Rod Parker, and Bob Weisskopf was still the editor. It's just they changed out. So Susan Harris wrote part one, and Rod Parker helped write part two. Did you notice any differences between the two of them?
I'm trying to think. I did feel like a certain different atmospheric difference between the two episodes. This part 2 seemed to have a little bit more of like a madcap, a sort of frenetic, frantic energy to it that I didn't feel in the part
first one.
Mm-hmm. So, so maybe that has to do with the writer.
Yes, I completely and totally agree with that sentiment. So the episode begins with Walter and his grandson Philip chilling and watching Josie and the Pussycats.
And they were eating popcorn.
In
bed. My husband hates when I do that because
you get crumbs everywhere.
He's like, I'm always finding popcorn.
I mean, of all things to find in the bedroom is popcorn.
Yeah.
Of course, it makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
So they're watching Josie and the Pussycats in outer space.
One of my all-time favorite cartoons when I was a child.
Not surprised.
Not
surprised in the slightest.
I wanted so bad to be one of the Pussycats.
There's still time.
I cannot begin to tell you. I have done Daphne from Scooby-Doo.
Of course you have.
I did do Daphne.
A 70s girl through and through.
And Danny, he was Shaggy. And we had a little stuffed Scooby.
Because of course.
Yes.
That is absolutely precious.
Yes. I think we actually won a prize. It was a costume like thing.
For the Long Island Game and Chorus?
No. This was our friend Kevin had like this little. He had an event.
Oh, that's cute.
And I performed, but also there was like a costume contest, and so Danny and the theme was like Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, so we did.
You did Daphne and Shaggy
with, and I had my little stuffed Scooby.
Every time I see groups of friends of mine cosplay as like the Mystery Gang, and every time I'm just like, I can't see myself dressing up as any of them. Maybe Velma.
You would be a great Velma.
Maybe I would be Velma.
You would be. Oh, yes, you could be. You could definitely be Velma.
I
see it.
All the lesbianisms.
Yes.
Just all the lesbianisms forever and always. We love a queer-coded queen.
Yes. It'd definitely be Velma.
So yes, they're watching. Obviously, this is watching Saturday morning cartoons.
Saturday morning cartoons. Yes. That was the bit that I don't know, like if they have Saturday morning cartoons anymore on.
No,
on regular.
They tried in the 90s with like One Saturday Morning and Kids WB and all of the major networks initially had a Saturday morning cartoon situation. But
Yeah.
nowadays, it's like you have Cartoon Network where you can watch cartoons every day.
Right.
Nickelodeon. You have Nick Jr., Disney Jr., Disney
Yes.
XD.
Yeah.
You have Boomerang where you can watch like classic cartoons.
Right.
Which even the classic cartoons, you're still watching cartoons from the 90s, and it's like, no, I want Looney Tunes. I want the Flintstones. I want the Jetsons, damn it.
Oh. Even Animaniacs. I mean.
But I mean, again, you also have streaming services like Hulu and Netflix where you can again just watch cartoons.
Absolutely.
I mean, the way media has changed so drastically, and how technology has changed so much in such a short period of time. It's like culture shock.
I mean, who would have ever thought TV now it's like
Cablevision is going to become a thing of the past in a
it's
few
like
years.
everything is like a la carte on your TV. It used to be that you were given like a set menu. And it was like,
and that was it.
Like when I was a kid,
you had a TV Guide, and that was it.
We had Channel 2, we had Channel 4, and we had Channel 7, basically.
Not 13.
Well, but I mean, it wasn't really like there was a lot of choices on it. But even with Channel 13 and and local stations, it was just like. This was what was on. Either you watched that
or you didn't.
You didn't, Now it's like I turn on my TV and it's like a whole universe of like, what do I want to watch? I can watch anything I want.
I can watch anything I want, and yet I will still choose to watch Maude, I Love Lucy, The Golden Girls. I won't watch anything else. I just won't. Do not ask me why.
I know.
I have been on such a kick because I have been listening to Elaine Stritch at Liberty. I adore Elaine Stritch. I have when I first
Shocker. Yeah.
Bastard. When I first saw Elaine Stritch at Liberty on HBO, I was just like, what's this? An older, mature woman talking about her days in the theater? Sign me up. This is my whole aesthetic right here. And she's in this beautiful, oversized white blouse, black nylon tights, good for you, Grandma. Good for you. And I downloaded the album, and I've just been every time I go into my car, I'm just like, oh, well, I'm going to put Elaine on, and every time I get into my car, that's just what's playing, and I'm like, something, it makes me happy, and I'm going to but that there are some people out there that will say, the person that can listen to and watch the same thing over and over again are capable of murder.
I believe that. Because I'm one of those people.
Because you're one of those people too.
I'm also one of those people.
But it's hysterical despite the fact that there is so much out there, so much media to absorb and take in.
Yeah.
That, us two old broads are like, something, I'm just going to stick with what I'm comfortable with. Bye!
Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious. So... after Maude, Maude isn't there. We find out that Maude is in Boston visiting her mother.
Yeah, which is a cover story.
So while Philip and Walter are discussing, they're having a very touching grandfather-grandson moment.
Yes.
Where Walter is basically explaining to Philip about zipping the fly because it was brought up because Carol had yelled at Philip for not zipping his fly all the way up.
Yes.
How did your mother ever tell you that your fly was open?
She would have just said your fly's open.
Oh, you never got XYZ?
No.
Oh, XYZ was one of the things that I was told.
Oh.
Yep, my mother would look at me and say XYZ.
Examine your zipper.
Examine your zipper.
Yes.
And that was another thing. But the one thing that I was always told was, zip your fly, otherwise the seagull's going to come and get it.
Oh.
You never got that one either? Oh, I got that one all the time.
No.
The other thing I got with my pants is that I always, my pockets were always out.
Uh-huh.
I never tucked my pockets in when I was younger.
Okay.
Wasn't until I was older.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned how to actually tuck.
Oh, yes. So
they're having a grandfather-grandson moment where
Walter teaches Philip these subtle tricks
to zip one's fly if it's potentially open.
Yes, he said if like you're walking into a room full of ladies, then you can do like a slow turn. It's like, oh, well, and pretend to be looking up at something and turn.
You take your thumb, you hook it into your belt,
yes,
and then you check with your pinky to see if your fly is open.
Yes, that's the check to see if it's open.
That's the check to see if it's open.
The looking up in the well is the turn. If you found it is open.
If you found it's open, you look up to the sky, say well, and zip up.
Yes. Then Florida comes in because she needs to make the bed.
She needs to make the bed and clean the room. She needs to be a maid. She needs to take care of the house.
And she's
a housekeeper.
Continuing to tell Walter that Carol wants them all downstairs.
She is insistent that Walter and Philip head downstairs.
Yes.
And Walter just is like, no, I want to stay up here and watch. It's Josie and the Pussycats go to Maude in outer space.
And he's refusing to like take orders from Carol because he says this is his home
and his home is his castle.
His castle, to which Florida has to inform him.
Who came up with that cock and bull expression?
That she's aware of that and she has to go clean his throne.
She curtsied. Well, I know your highness curtsy.
Yeah.
I want to clean your throne now.
Yes, up to clean your throne.
So she goes into the bathroom to start cleaning up. And at that point, I think Carol enters. Oh no, we cut to Carol and
Vivian are downstairs
getting wondering ready where Maude is.
Yeah, getting ready for Maude to arrive. And Vivian was saying that Maude was lucky that she has people waiting for her. But she only had her goldfish.
She only had her goldfish Edwin. She only had the goldfish Edwin.
And he couldn't see much because the bowl was
was dirty, which leads me to believe that Edwin was very much dead.
Yeah, and Carol is,
at this point, like, around this episode was sort of where Vivian started to turn from, like, a relatively intelligent woman to sort of the ditzy character because I think from, like, the middle of season 2 to, like, the end of season 6, Vivian was just that terminally naive, very sweet, incredibly dense character that, like... That was what happened with when Golden Girls started to be cast.
Well, initially, didn't they want Rue to be the...
Yep, they wanted Rue to play Rose. They wanted Rue to play Rose, and they wanted Betty to play Blanche.
Right.
And I remember when they were casting it, Susan Harris... So, it's funny that I mentioned Elaine Stritch. Susan Harris and the network executives wanted B. Arthur. Like, the casting call called for a B. Arthur type.
For Dorothy.
Yes. And they initially tried out Elaine Stritch because at first B was like, I don't want to be a part of this. This is not for me. This is because like Rue was insistent to be like, you have to take this part. This part is like the script is brilliant. Yeah. And B was like, Rue, I am not going to. This is not going to be Maude and Vivian meet Sue Ann Nivens. And Rue ended up auditioning. They switched.
Right.
Rue auditioned for Blanche, got Blanche. Right. Betty auditioned for Rose and got Rose. Like they initially switched it up. Rue told that to B, and B was like, "Oh,
yes,
I might be more interested in that." But it's funny that they auditioned Elaine Stritch because
could you imagine like a Golden Girls with Elaine Stritch as Dorothy?
Not at all.
Rue McClanahan as Rose and Betty White as Blanche.
That's Miami Nice.
There's of course of course. Part of Marvel has the multiverse and what ifs, and there is a universe.
There is a universe where that is actually the case.
Where that is a thing. Somebody is watching Elaine Stritch play Dorothy, but
it's it was funny how it happened because Susan Harris, who has written a few episodes of Maude and written a lot of episodes for the Golden Girls, detested Elaine Stritch. Because I think Susan Harris may have had an earworm, like Elaine Stritch is just very difficult to work with. Elaine Stritch is an alcoholic. And when Elaine flew out to audition for Golden Girls, the network executives adored her because she was just, she was sassy, she was brassy, she was boring. Right. I think the line that Elaine read was, Ling, don't forget about the hors d'oeuvres. And she said, could we try ad-libbing? And Susan Harris was like, hopefully you mean just the punctuation and not changing any of the words. Wow. So Elaine goes, Ling, don't forget the hors d'oeuvres. What if I said, Ling, don't forget the fucking hors d'oeuvres? And the network executives fell on the floor, but Susan Harris was unmoved.
Oh, that.
She was unmoved.
Oh.
But then they, like Elaine was told, you didn't get it, so she went on to greener pastures and do her own thing.
I wonder if in that alternate universe of Golden Girls, if there's a little Tom Cat. I'd be an Elaine Stritch
impersonator. Listen, when I'm in my car and I'm listening to Elaine Stritch of Liberty, I am impersonating her. Could you imagine a world where Tom Cat was an Elaine Stritch impersonator? It exists. It exists.
I could.
Oh my god, that'll be my next Halloween costume.
Yes.
Elaine Stritch.
So Carol is sympathizing with Vivian. She knows that divorce is painful, but Vivian is like, well, but you're young.
It's easy for you to say. You're young and you have a full figure bra,
right? And she
wanted $1,500 extra for that.
If Vivian wanted that, but she didn't spring for it.
So $1,500 extra for a boob job. The boob jobs today cost like anywhere between $3,000 to $6,000.
Yeah,
and up.
Yes.
So
Carol
Vivian turns to the mirror and goes,
yes.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, send me a husband 6 feet tall.
Yes.
And Carol goes, if you think it works, make it 2.
Yeah.
So Vivian turns to the mirror and goes, send me a husband 2 feet tall.
Which I guess is we're planting the seeds for Vivian to become the Ditz.
The Ditz, correct. So Carol heads upstairs.
Yep.
And
when we get to the bedroom, it's hilarious because now Florida is in the bed
with Philip and Walter.
Watching cartoons.
And Carol's like, Florida, you were supposed to get them downstairs. And then Florida says, but that's Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids.
Which is one of my favorite shows. I love Fat Albert. Although now there's all the thing though, because it was Bill Cosby voiced a lot of the characters. He was like a producer and all this. Yes. But at the time, this was unknown. And I always think about
I actually this is completely and totally unrelated.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting how certain comedians will joke about queerness and transness and doing all of these things. I actually found out by reading a couple of articles. Eddie Murphy was infamous in the queer scene for, dating black trans women, and then those same black trans women would mysteriously disappear. No one was able to find them.
Yeah, well, there was a case years ago. It was in the
papers
about him like getting caught. He had picked up like a trans woman who was a prostitute. And he was trying to say, he was just giving her a lift.
Yeah, okay. I'll believe that with big
sure. Yeah.
Whatever you say, Mary.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy is working as a taxi driver because he needs some extra money.
Of course he does.
At
that time, his one special made him hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes. Yeah, this was after like Beverly Hills Cop and all that. I mean, he was like the number one like movie star in the world at the time.
To quote Betty Davis in All About Eve, I hate men.
True. But yes.
So Florida ends up exiting, and Carol is now insistent on them leaving. She says to Philip, "You can go to your friend." What was the friend's name? But you can go to I think it was Albert. You can go to your friend Albert's house.
I don't think so.
It wasn't Albert?
No, Fat Albert was what they were watching.
No, I know, but what was the name of the friend that Philip was going to?
I don't remember.
But Philip was like. Carol said you can go to your friend's house for the rest of the day. And
Philip does his the fly checking trick.
And you just see the look of pride on Walter's face.
Yes.
Because Carol's like, what does that mean? And Walter's like, it was one small zip for mankind.
Yep.
It's also important that, like Walter says, if you zip like that, it'll make Watergate look like nothing.
Yes.
And I always appreciate when they point out the absurdity that was the Watergate scandal.
Yes.
Because you don't see that a lot in today's media. You don't see a lot of, you do, but, exclusively on comedy specials.
Yeah.
Like, stand-up comedians doing all that fun stuff and not. You won't see... with Will and Grace, you'll see the MAGA, Make America Gay Again hat in the background. But I don't think you'll see anything explicitly said.
Right. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see the evolution of political humor in sitcoms.
That it is.
So at that point, they all come downstairs. So Philip is off to his friends, Walter, Carol, and Vivian. They're all clamoring. So Carol, Vivian, and Walter. Karen, Vivian, and Florida are all clamoring. Walter's like, "What's the big deal? What's going on?" So they all tell Walter to just sit down at the bottom of the staircase, so that way he'll be in full. Like when Maude comes in, he'll see everything.
Yes.
He'll see all of the new and improved Maude because while Maude is quote unquote in Boston, she was actually going out to get a facelift.
Right. So that's when the doorbell rings.
The doorbell rings, and Vivian, Carol, and Florida are just jumping up and down, like, "Oh my goodness, here she is! She's here! She's here!"
And Vivian and Carol are singing,
"Here she is, Miss America,
Miss America."
And they open the door, and it's Arthur.
It's Arthur.
And it's Arthur. And Arthur's just standing there smugly saying, "Me, Miss America, I want to thank my mommy and my daddy."
Yes.
Arthur was actually pretty tame in this episode.
Yeah.
He was pretty tame. Like, usually you would expect, like, sexist or conservative Republican rhetoric. But he was actually relatively tame in this episode.
And now they're struggling because Walter wants to leave because he has a barber's appointment.
Yep.
And Carol is like insisting that he's got to stay. Maude is coming home.
But I mean, at that point, Carol was about to say, "Walter, I have something to tell you." And like you see Vivian grab hold of her.
Yes.
And Vivian was just like, "Maude is coming home today. She's not coming home tomorrow. It's a surprise." So at that point, Walter bounds to his feet and says, "If she's coming home today, I gotta go."
Right.
And he's like, "This guy's not only a barber; he's a bookie.
He's a bookie.
He has one seat and what was it, 20 telephones?"
Yes. So I wonder if that was like, knowing that Walter already has an addictive personality and has been struggling with alcoholism, going to a barbershop where it's easy to gamble because, that could easily be another addiction. But, I don't think they ever had that. Did they ever have Walter?
They never
having like a gambling addiction? I don't think they did.
No. Gambling... when did gambling become a serious problem? I think it was probably the 80s. Gambling became a serious problem in the 80s. Alcoholism was definitely at the forefront of a lot of people's minds in the 70s.
Yeah.
But gambling I don't think was that big of a thing. I mean, there were people who gambled, and in the episode with George Washington Carver Williams, where they had Mr. Williams, and Walter said, "Go here, take this money and run it up in a crack game."
Yes.
And then, Mr. Williams says, "I'm going to go put this money to worthy cause." And, worthy cause was up 10-1, Florida said. So it's interesting that they'll, like, allude to gambling, but I don't think it's ever explicitly put in people's faces.
Yes.
In this show, at least.
No.
In other shows, yes, but not in this one.
Not in this one. Now, who said something about Maude getting a brand new face but having the same old mouth? That was Florida. That was Florida. Yes.
Yeah. So Florida was just like, "Oh man, now look at this," and Carol's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And like Florida turns to her and says, "You'll be looking at a new face, but you'll be hearing the same old mouth,"
which was true.
And Arthur is completely and totally oblivious until I think.
Vivian has to tell him. She tells him about the facelift.
Yes.
And that's when we hear the car horn.
The car horn honks, and then Maude is obviously ringing the doorbell.
Yeah.
At that point, Carol, Vivian, Florida, they're all clamoring. And
it's almost like when she comes in, it's almost like she's doing like a strip tease.
Yes.
Like just the hand comes
in first.
Very
Gypsy Rose Finley.
Yes.
Very Gypsy Rose
Finley.
So, Florida's like, "This is the greatest unveiling since Mount Rushmore." Vivian's like, "Have you ever had a more exciting moment in your life?" And Arthur goes, "Yes." Yeah. So Maude enters with she has a headscarf,
big kerchief, and sunglasses on,
and big
trying to hide as much of her face.
So when I did Maude live, how I gave myself a face. If you watch Maude Part 1, my face is very basic. Like I just have the foundation, I have some light contouring, I have on basic eyeshadow. For part 2, I put on the highlight and I exaggerated the contour and I put on redder lips and I darkened my eyes. Because one of the things that I was doing was like, how do you perceive a facelift for the stage? And first you start with a blank canvas and then you build on that, and that's how you get a facelift.
Yes.
I do not know what they did with Maude.
Well, let's get into that when she unveils.
Yes. So
I have thoughts.
So she enters in a big blue coat with the headscarf and the glasses.
Yes.
And she's insisting that no one sees her before Walter.
And she's going crazy looking for Walter.
Tinkerbell's home.
Tinkerbell. Good God. Good
Someone
Lord.
like Maude saying Tinkerbell's home.
Yeah. The irony.
So Carol is like, as Maude continues to like call for Arthur, Carol is just
she's calling for Walter.
She's calling for Walter. See, I do it again.
I know.
So Maude is calling out for Walter, and Carol is insistent every time. He's not here. He's not here. He's not here.
Yes.
And Maude turns to her and goes, "And to think I married Chester so you'd be legitimate."
Yeah.
What a bitchy thing to say to your daughter.
But then Carol's was like, I thought it was Barney.
Barney was my father.
Right.
And Maude turns to her and goes, whomever.
Whatever. And Maude is mad because she had told Carol specifically keep Walter there.
Yeah.
And Vivian defends Carol. She says, she tried. She tried to keep him.
Yeah.
But Maude is disappointed, and she says something about she doesn't want to start crying because if her face gets wet, it'll
turn to silly putty. It'll turn to silly putty. So while everyone is clamoring for Maude to show off her new face, Maude is just like, well, I was in the hospital. Doesn't anybody have any questions? Does anyone know how it went? And Flora was just like, I'll ask the question.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Like, where were you?
She wants to know what the hospital was like.
Hospital was like. So Maude goes on about the two people that she was rooming with. One was a 17-year-old pre-debutante who was having her nose fixed.
Yes.
And the other one was a 65-year-old fanny freak.
Something like that,
who was having her buttocks reduced.
Yes.
Or as they called it in the hospital, a keister correction.
A keister correction.
So, it was, I guess that was a very interesting experience for old girl. And, Florida's like, they can lift that too. So Arthur's like, yeah. Like, if Maude really wanted to, she could have stayed at the hospital for like an extra week and rounded it off with a fanny fix.
Right.
And, Maude turns to Arthur and says, think of how much you would have saved doing that. With you, it's the same operation.
Right, same operation.
Getting a facelift and a fanny fix.
Yeah.
Basically calling Arthur an ass.
Yep.
Which,
apropos.
I always appreciate those little innuendos.
Apropos.
So at that point, Vivian's just like, I don't want to hear about the hotel. I don't want to hear about the hospital. I want to see your face.
Yes.
So everyone is just like, I want to see your face. I want to see your face. I want to see your face. Maude finally relents. She goes up the stairs, but not before Carol asks her.
Carol says she's going to put
the music
on.
And
Walter's like, at first she's like, oh no, but
then cuts off saying the Mantovani album, third song on the record.
Yes.
And I found out that the song, after looking diligently through the script that I painstakingly wrote for Maude Live, the song is called "Lovely to Look At" by the Melocrino Strings and Orchestra.
Oh, okay.
And I've always had a penchant for "Lovely to Look At" because I thoroughly enjoy that song. And at that point, everyone's like, quick, come on, just, where are you? And Maude comes downstairs with the thin chiffon over her face.
Right.
And as she gets to the stairs, she drops it, and everybody is agog.
Yes, they're all wowed. They're stunned.
Wow, Mrs. Findlay, Maude, you look oh, mother. Just everyone is so up in arms. And Maude, coquettishly at the bottom of the stairs, holds her face saying, I know what you're thinking.
Yes.
I'm just another pretty face. Now, what are your thoughts?
I did not see evidence of facelift.
I knew you were going to say that.
I did not see evidence of a facelift. Now let's say to be realistically, 3 weeks after having a procedure, you're still going to be healing up.
Yes.
You would not be looking good.
Correct.
Also, as far as filming purposes, this was only a week after part 1. So we know there was no way that B. Arthur could have had a facelift.
Correct.
However, they did do a good job with youth makeup.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Oh, yes, they did.
Because she was blurred, mattified, poreless. The makeup was a bit more...
Makeup was Max Factor.
We are talking pancake. That was practically drag makeup on her.
Very much so.
It was drag makeup.
That was drag makeup. There is no other way to scratch it. It was drag makeup.
We're talking full coverage foundation.
Yep. Theater makeup. She was theater makeup.
Yeah.
Theater makeup for the television.
Much heavier than they normally had her.
Heavy head. I mean, if you compare her look in part 2 of Maude's facelift to episode 1 of Maude, night and day. Mm-hmm. Night and day.
Yeah. And it seemed like they gave her sort of a cat eye makeup look.
Yes, they did. Which leads you to believe that they probably did that tape trick.
Right.
Where they would tape, where they could tape up a little bit.
Yes.
Not a lot, but a little bit. And I'm sure they also tucked her neck back.
Yes.
So there were tricks and makeups, and there were makeup tricks and hacks that they used to make Maude look younger.
Yeah.
Compared to Vivian, where they just used Rue's natural face and used Rue's natural hair.
Yeah. Yes. It reminded me of, I'm sure you've seen it, like on a lot of TikToks and things where they talk about somebody catfishing with makeup. Somebody who is, considered...
the joke is if your date looks like this, make sure that you get them in a swimming pool so that you know what they actually look like.
Right.
Which is so rude, but also makes sense.
Yeah.
It does. It do make sense sometimes. Because let me tell you something. I have seen a lot of TikTok artists where they'll take, the putty off of their nose, the wax off their nose, the prosthetics off their cheeks, and they would look... not like what they looked like at the beginning of the video.
Right. Right.
So it was just...
But even beyond, not even going that to the lengths of
not to go to those limits. Yes.
And prosthetics on cheeks. Really, the things you can do with makeup.
You can do a lot.
You can do a lot with makeup. Do a lot. I think that's one of the things that people enjoy about my makeup videos on YouTube.
They enjoy the aesthetic. Listen, watching makeup videos is stimulation. It really is. It's stimulation. It's stimulating to watch something. I've seen videos of people cutting soap, for Christ's sake.
Oh yeah.
So to watch a person put on makeup, like when I do drag, like I will try to whatchamacallit, to either record myself or to make sure that someone is watching, because someone will always be fascinated by the process by which it takes to put on a face.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's true.
It's like watching, Bob Ross paint a canvas.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true.
One of the last times I saw my grandmother before she passed, I was sitting in her bedroom and she's just like, Thomas, I want you to watch me put on makeup. And I'm like, okay. Because I'm like, you can always learn something. And she was like putting on the moisturizer, and then after the moisturizer, she did her foundation. After the foundation, she did her eyes, her lips, her lashes, all that fun stuff. And I was just like, wow, I want to do that.
I was always especially as a child.
Oh, yes.
I was always fascinated watching,
And my mother and grandmother did not skimp out on makeup. Like, my grandmother used to wear Helena Rubinstein. My mother wore MAC. My aunt wore, the drag makeup that you would see today. So it's just fascinating to see the evolution of what a person can do with makeup.
Yeah, so true. All right, so we, after Maude's reveal...
we cut to commercial.
We come back... Carol's on the phone.
Yep, Carol is on the phone.
With the barber.
With the barber. So we find out that he left.
Right.
He left there about 10 minutes ago. So he should be home any second.
Yep.
So Maude is frantic.
Yes.
She's
hoping that Walter will like her new face.
Yep. And for contrast, that she wished she had her old face to stand next to.
Right.
Which, honestly, I find that hilarious.
Yes.
I really do. I find that hysterical.
Yes.
So Arthur is just like, calm down, everything's fine. Your new it's nerve-wracking waiting to show Walter your new face that makes you look 5 years younger. She cuts him off saying 6. 6 years younger.
She paid for 6.
$1,800, which comes to about 20 cents a wrinkle. Which I thought was a very funny joke.
Yes.
But you know what's an even funnier joke? $1,800 for a facelift compared to facelifts today.
Oh, God.
Botox injections are, I think, about $1,800.
Really?
I think so. Pretty sure. I could be wrong. Yeah, I have not been to a plastic surgeon yet.
Me either.
Would you ever consider?
Absolutely.
Oh, we had this conversation last week.
We discussed this in part 1.
We did discuss this in part 1.
We discussed this in part 1. So if you want to know what we said, you have to...
You have to watch.
You have to go
listen.
back and
you have to listen. Go back and listen.
Listen
watch.
to part 1.
Listen to part 1. So Maude is frantic because she's like, I hope that he loves it. Vivian and Carol are like, he'll love it. It's fine. And at that point, Maude attacks Carol almost. She says, I come in looking 6 years younger. Walter's been gone so long, I've already aged a year.
Right.
I'm changing faster than Lon Chaney during a full moon.
Yes.
Which, I love that. I love that line. That is such a great bit of dialogue. Vivian's being sympathetic and sentimental. Like, don't work yourself up like this.
And Maud's excited about Walter walking in, and the first thing of him seeing is her face. I think was basically the setup of the joke.
The setup of the joke was that Maude accidentally drops her purse because Carol makes her frantic, and she's like, "Where's my lipstick? Where's my lipstick?"
Right.
So at that point, Maude is like, "I'm so sorry that I'm picking on you. It's just more than anything, I want Walter to come in and see a new, young, youthful, beautiful face."
Right.
And she bends over to pick up the lipstick, and then Walter enters to see Maude's fanny.
Yes. So when she exclaims, "Maude!"
Just Maude looks up and doesn't know what to do with herself. Because Maude, in true to form fashion, wants this reveal to be very grand, very big, very over the top, and that's just not the case.
Right.
For comedy effect. That's all, just for comedy. So Walter immediately grabs onto Maude from behind, saying, I'll never let go, I'll never let go.
Yes.
And Maude is just like, Walter, honey, everyone's here. Like, just leave it be. Like, heal, Walter. Like, stop.
Heal, Walter. Yes.
Stop being so clingy. Walter's like, I can't hug everyone. Besides, I'm going to squeeze you for 3 weeks because that's how long we've been apart. Honestly, very sweet. But 3 weeks with a facelift, that's just...
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Time-wise, it does not make sense.
But again, I don't think the viewing audience at that time...
understood or, like...
really understood.
The lay person would not get it.
At that time.
Yeah, the lay person would not get it.
What entailed having a facelift. Because nowadays... We've got, shows like Botched and all these plastic surgery shows.
I blame Nip Tuck.
Oh, I love Nip Tuck.
I mean, it was a very good show. It was a very queer heavy show, actually.
That Julian McMahon. Oh,
yeah, he was pretty.
Yes,
he was pretty.
I still like him. He's on FBI Most Wanted, I think now. He's on that show.
Hellified.
Yeah.
I don't watch modern television. I'm an old woman.
as my grandmother would say, he could put his shoes under my bed.
Oh, for God's sake! Just because the snow is on what was the old expression? Just because there's snow on the rooftops doesn't mean there's a fire in the furnace.
Doesn't mean there's not a fire.
Not a fire in the furnace.
Not a fire in the furnace. Excuse me. Thank you. And who are you to judge me?
Ass. You're a colossal ass. So Walter is just like catering to Maude, like Maude, I love you. And then at that point,
now the thing is, she finally has to tell him she wants to see his face to get him to release her because
because Maude hasn't seen Walter's face
because she hasn't
and
his
Walter
face.
has not seen her face.
So she turns it around that she wants to see his face in order for him to like let go and back off so she can get him to see her face.
Yep. So at that point, Walter backs off and he's
staring
at her proudly, and Maude is just standing there, very poised, very much, look at me. And Walter says, well, what do you think?
He says, how do I look? How do I look?
When Marcus Canello was my Walter, and Marcus Canello is bald because another Italian of a certain age with a receding hairline. He decided
what the Lord giveth in other places, he taketh away.
So
we know that.
I didn't know he was going to do this. He had on his wig that literally had the bald spot.
Oh.
And when he came back, he took the wig off and says, well, what do you think? And it was amazing. It was so wonderful. And I was just like, as an actor, kudos. Just kudos all around.
So, of course, Maude is like,
take it
how?
What do you mean, too?
She's like, don't you see the difference?
Yes.
To which Walter, he thinks it's because she got new luggage.
Yep. And Maude says, you're going to be stuffed in it.
Yeah.
So, she says, Walter, I've had that luggage for years. I've had that outfit for years. But, Walter, there's one thing that I haven't had for years. And it's almost like Maude is pointing at her face.
Yeah.
And Walter, in his infinite wisdom, says, it's only been 3 weeks, honey.
Yeah.
What does he say? Hold on. It only seems that long, sweetheart, but it's only been 3 weeks.
Right.
Which means that it's only been 3 weeks since the two of them have made whoopee.
Yes. Making whoopee. That's what Walter thinks that she's talking about, but it is not.
Yep. Wrong, Walter. It'll be years.
Yeah.
Storms upstairs.
Yes.
And at that point, Carol and Vivian are just like, how are you dense? You're rude. You're incredibly rude.
Right. Yes.
And Walter's just hapless. Like, what happened? Like, what went on? So Carol finally breaks and says, Maude got a facelift. And Walter feels like the colossal jackass that he is.
Yes, he couldn't tell. He feels like a dummy.
Yep.
I think he calls himself a dummy.
And Arthur says, how could you miss it? It's as plain as the face on her face.
Yes.
Stupid.
So stupid, Arthur. So Carol is telling him he's got to go apologize.
Yep.
And he says he'd rather face World War III.
Which, considering what we know of Maude... Not an inaccurate statement.
Not inaccurate.
Not an inaccurate statement.
It makes me think of those cartoons when you see like the I think there was actually wasn't there like a commercial? I forget for what it was. But it was Mary Todd Lincoln looking in the mirror and she's saying to Abraham Lincoln, she's like, does this dress make me look fat? And because the thing is, he's Honest Abe.
I think that was a commercial.
It was a commercial.
I think that was a commercial. Yeah, but for what I don't know.
Maybe it was for Geico. I don't know.
I think it was for Geico.
I think it was for Geico, right?
Because they do a lot of interesting commercials.
Yes, and like yeah. If the woman asks you if this outfit makes her look fat,
you shut up.
You don't,
and you lie.
Don't tell her it does.
You lie like a rug.
Oh, don't tell her it does.
You lie, friend.
Oh my Lord.
So
Walter comes up with the idea.
Walter comes up with this cockamamie idea.
Yes.
He gets I literally have it. He gets a stupid idea.
Yes.
I know my glasses. I can't believe I didn't see that change.
He didn't see it because he didn't have his glasses.
He wasn't wearing his glasses.
And of course he needs his 3 best friends to back him up.
Yep, my 3 closest friends in the world. I'm sure Maude.
One by one, the 3 friends leave. First, Carol
has to go pick up Philip.
She's got to go pick up Philip. Then Vivian
has to go promise that I just remembered that I promised my mother that I would bring her a basket of chicken.
And to Arthur,
Walter says, your mother's in Florida.
Yeah.
So Vivian says, well, that's why I have to hurry.
That's why I have to hurry. And to Arthur, who he's pointing out is his best friend.
Arthur, if I had one friend in the world, Arthur says you better call him.
Better call him, and he leaves.
So at that point, Florida enters to exit.
Florida
enters from the kitchen, which means that Florida heard
Of course. You know, Florida was anytime any of this was going on. She knew. She was listening. I could just imagine Florida, like, making the hollandaise sauce and like silently stirring it, like with her ear cocked, so you like to hear everything that's going on. And I would be the same.
You would do the same thing.
Absolutely. I probably wouldn't even be cooking. I'd probably
you would just be listening.
I'd probably have a glass to the.
You would let the hollandaise sauce burn.
I would let that burn, baby, burn.
So Walter says, "Florida, oh Florida, my dear, dear friend."
Yeah.
To which Florida says, "Mr. Finley, I never saw you before in my life."
Oh.
So once everyone leaves, it is the showdown to end all showdowns.
That's when Maude comes down the stairs and
with daggers in her eyes.
Really, I thought it looked to me more like she was crying. I thought she was like holding a tissue. And,
she was, but that doesn't. Yeah. I mean, you still saw the daggers. Like, you saw that she was like. Yes. Walter says, "Oh, Maude," and Maude just turns to him and just again.
Yes. But it was like, she also was conveying this feeling of being hurt.
Yes, of woe. There was a feeling of woe.
So it wasn't like just, it wasn't like the anger Maude would have at, say, a Republican.
True.
It was that, it was more of the Maude when she's been betrayed by a loved one.
Yes.
That kind of that's the vibe she was giving to me.
So Maude exits to the kitchen.
She goes to the kitchen.
Walter says, "Okay, Finley, save your marriage." So he goes into the kitchen. Maude, I think, is either reading the newspaper or doing a crossword puzzle. But either way, I think she had the paper.
She was sitting at the table.
And Walter's just like coming up with any excuse that he can.
Yeah.
I was asking about your mother. How's your mother doing? Yeah. By the way, have you seen my glasses? Oh, here they are on my chest in my jacket.
They're like,
oh, here they are. Secret pocket.
Yes.
So he blows on them and cleans them. Boston, it's marvelous this time of he puts the glasses on and just goes wild. Maude, your face, it's beautiful. It's out of sight.
Oh, Lord. And Maude, of course, is not buying it.
Not having it at all.
For a moment. So she exits back into the living room.
Not yet. She says, Walter, that is the worst performance I've seen since Buster Crabbe played Tarzan. And all he had to do was grunt at a monkey.
Yes.
So she gets up, she leaves, she goes into the living room. She goes into the dining room.
The dining room, yes. The dining room.
And Walter's like trying to come up with excuses. As soon as I put glasses on, Maude cuts him off, saying, "I wouldn't dare hit you."
And that's when she
comes out. She comes out.
Carol told you.
Told you about the facelift. Right. Don't give me that. I just put on my glasses routine.
Right.
She mocks Walter. And Walter, he comes clean. Like, I'll be honest, I lied, but there was a reason for it.
Yeah.
To which Maude says, "I know, Walter. National security."
And he tells her that she's overreacting.
Very much so. I mean, at that point, it then becomes a softer fight than what we would really expect. Because obviously in part one, we had the big blowout fight. And this time it's just like, yes, Walter messed up.
Right.
And he's trying to, make up for it in a compassionate, understanding, and thoughtful way. And Maude is sort of receptive.
Yes. And is this where she begins to feel that she's made a mistake in getting the facelift?
Sweetheart, our faces always look like they belong together, and now I don't know. I feel like we'll never be the same couple again. Right. Especially me, she says.
Right. And she pulls out her favorite photo of them. They were in the pool at a
the Henderson
house.
Swimming Pool.
The Henderson swimming pool. And
see, I'm a head taller than you because I have more natural buoyancy.
More natural buoyancy.
And she tears herself out of it. She tears the picture.
She was like, "Oh no, don't tear that picture up."
That's very upsetting.
Yeah,
that's very rude.
Yeah, I mean, granted, she was like tearing herself out, but still, it's like that's. A little timeless piece of their past. I would like. Should never.
There's one episode where, not to spoil anything, Even though the show is 50 years old.
Yeah, really.
There was an episode.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert for a 50-year-old show. There was an episode where Maude and Walter decide on getting a divorce.
Uh-huh.
And Maude and Walter are fighting over their wedding album.
Mm-hmm.
And, Maude found this picture of the two of them when they were listening to Sandler and Young.
Mm-hmm.
And Maude tears it up 4 times, because this is, I just tearing this picture apart.
Right.
And it's a very somber moment.
Oh.
Because you just see Maude going off the rails and tearing up a very timeless picture of the two of them. Mm-hmm. So, I think that was the end thing to do in the 70s. If you were pissed off, you would just tear up sentimental things.
Yes. Now we just unfriend and block.
It's
the truth. Tell me I'm wrong.
And you delete the pictures off your phone.
Yes. Right? That's what you do. We really don't have.
That is
very, actual photographs are very rare.
That is
everything is digital.
Yeah, 100%. So after Maude tears the picture, Maude is saying, I goofed. Yes, I made the greatest goof ever. Mm-hmm. And at that point, Walter just shouts his famous, Maude, look. So she looks at the two of them in the mirror, and
he's saying it's still us.
Yep.
And she's like, no, that when people see them, she's gonna say who's that chick with Walter Findlay?
Walter, you're an old man. So and
I gotta say, I wanted to be like Maude,
Listen.
Cool your jets.
Maude will still...
You only took off 5 years. Excuse me, 6. It was...
You're imagining me as Maude in this moment, aren't you?
Absolutely.
I knew you would.
Absolutely.
But Maude had that gorgeous silver... B. Arthur had that gorgeous silver hair. Mm-hmm. And she only colored it for 1 episode. Mm-hmm. And that was the... what the hell was the name of the episode? We went over it. We discussed it. It was in season 1. I think it was literally called Flashback. The episode was called Flashback. Right. That was the only episode where they darkened her hair. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if you want to go...
She wasn't wearing a wig?
No, that was... They darkened her hair.
They probably just used a temporary rinse.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a temporary rinse, it was maybe a spray or a powder.
Yeah.
But that was all they did was literally they just colored her hair.
Yeah.
And to say that a person is nowadays, you see young people with gray hair and silver hair all the time.
Oh yeah,
it's the in thing to do.
Yeah,
it's to have that. So I always said to myself that if I managed to maintain my hair, I would make sure that I would go gray early, or I would attempt to go gray early. And unfortunately, that's just
man plans and God laughs.
Unfortunately, yes, that is sadly the case.
Before the pandemic, I had gone, platinum.
Yeah,
because I'd always wanted to do it. I said, "What the hell? Why not?" It's something I always wanted to do.
If you can't go with God.
So I went and I did it, and I had it, bleached platinum.
Yes.
But then the thing is, it was the upkeep is
the upkeep is a nuisance.
It's such an annoyance.
And
then I just said, let me go natural, and now my natural hair is
going gray.
Is like salt and pepper anyway. So I'm like, I could probably pay to have this done. Anyway, so to hell with it. I'll just be natural.
That's not an inaccurate thing to say.
I know it's not. It absolutely isn't.
There were only two times in my life that I had my hair dyed. Mm. There was one time when I had to have been in high school at the time, or junior high school, and my mother gave me highlights. Because I wanted highlights. It was the in thing to have highlights.
Yeah.
And I had it. My hair was very brown. I think it was the brownest my hair has ever been. And, that was the first time. And again, it was the in thing to do. Mm-hmm. My father did not have any qualms about it. No one in my family had any qualms about it. Because, again, highlights during that time, I think it was the early 2000s, where everybody was highlighting their hair.
Okay.
So that was the first time. And then the second time was a little bit later. I think it was right before I came out for the third and final time. where I dyed my hair black, like jet black. And my skin reflected that because my skin was that much more pale.
Okay.
And I always like looking like a vampire.
Nothing wrong with that.
I love looking like a vampire because wrinkles, I don't have wrinkles. I don't have wrinkles.
Some of the most annoying people we know are like that.
Oh, you son of a bitch. Oh, you son of a bitch. Oh, she's going to kill you.
She don't listen to
She don't listen to this
show anyway.
Oh, hell. So, yes.
So Walter, he's trying to explain to her why he didn't see the difference.
Yes.
And he claims that it was because he was so happy to see her.
The whole picture.
That's why he didn't realize that she looked 5 years younger.
6.
6
years younger.
6 years younger. He loved the whole package. And that's when he starts kissing her.
Her lips.
Yes.
Her nose. Her eyes. Her hands. Her toes. Her knees. And then she stops him.
Yes.
And she says, don't forget the instep.
The instep.
Which means that Maude has a foot fetish.
Yes. And I guess Walter does too.
I guess Walter does too.
And
they are a married couple, and they are, for better or worse, they have a very healthy, happy sex life.
Yes.
They do. They have a very healthy sexual sex life.
Mm-hmm. And Walter, he proposes marriage again.
Yep, sweetheart, if we could get your parents' permission, will you marry me?
Mm-hmm.
They kiss, then embrace. Maude says, honey, you certainly know the way to a girl's
face.
And at that point, we have our epilogue.
That's where we break. Now we're in the living room again.
Yep.
I think now the outfit she was wearing at the very end was really beautiful.
Yes.
That's sort of that peach coral chiffon kind of. How would you describe it? Because you're better at that than me. But it was beautiful.
So one of the things that I love about Maude's wardrobe is that she always wore very comfortable things. But not only that, she always wore these long, gorgeous, flowing robe-like jackets. She wore it in the second part of the episode. She wore it when she entered. Like her outfit, yes, was that big blue jacket, but under that was this gorgeous burgundy robe-like situation with a blue tulle overlay. And she had a matching burgundy turtleneck and matching burgundy pants. And I'm trying for the life of me to remember what she wore for the epilogue, but I think it might have been the same thing, where it was a peachy coral jacket situation with a pair of pants and a turtleneck. Like that was. It was even joked about in the B. Arthur special. As a matter of fact, for the B. Arthur special, she turned up the house lights, and she was just like, now comes the point in our show where everybody starts to like ask a question, where the celebrity will ask questions of the audience. So to save electricity and time, and electricity, yes, I did leave Maude. If I had another show, would I do another sitcom? Yes, of course. My shoe size 7B. Did I really have that facelift? So much for questions with the audience. Just avoiding the question altogether. But also, Madam, Wayland Flowers' Madam, was joking with Maude, I think during their one interaction with each other. And Madam's just like, you know those fancy outfits that you've made popular, the dress over the pantsuit. And it was one of those moments where I'm just like, yes. It is a dress over a pantsuit.
Yes.
And that's, I wore that to a wedding recently where I wore a gorgeous black beaded dress and over a pair of black sequin pants. That shocked a lot of people.
Really?
Because there were people that came up to me and they were just like, you're wearing pants. There's pants under that dress. I'm like, well, what did you expect it was? Did you think it was an actual extension of it was pants. Yeah. And I also shocked them when I said that I made the pants. Because I make the pants in all of my relationships.
Good for you.
Because someone has to.
Yes. But anyway, it was a beautiful outfit that she had on. So Walter comes in, I would assume from work, because he's carrying his briefcase. He's in jacket and tie. And Maude is telling her...
Coquettish.
Yes.
She's being coquettish.
She's telling him about her day that she went into town with Carol for lunch.
For a luncheon.
And there was
she's like, no, I won't tell you. So it was like, what happened? What's going on? Someone's like, well, We were sitting in the restaurant, Caroline. This very attractive young man was at the bar, and I won't tell you, forget it.
Yeah.
So Walter's like, insisted, just tell me what did he say? Like, what's going on?
Tell me.
So Maude says, well, he came over and he put 2 drinks in front of us, and he said, are you girls with the airline? And then at that point, they kiss, they laugh, and then that's the end of the episode.
Yeah. So I'm guessing it's supposed to allude to like
the fact that she looks younger.
They both look like they could be like, you know, airline stewardesses.
Because that was, I mean, hey, airline stewardesses were supposed to be quote unquote attractive. That was a woman's job. To be a stewardess at one point was a woman's job.
It was a at that time in the 70s. It was a very sexist job.
Oh God, yes.
Like being like a Playboy bunny.
Yep.
Or a
and the outfits,
cocktail waitress.
Yes, a cocktail waitress.
You know.
And the outfits that they put those poor Pan Am girls in.
Yeah.
You know, and then today you have there's more diversity. Not only are there male stewardesses, but there are also
they're all stewards now.
Stewards now.
Yes.
You know, it's just interesting to see the evolution of certain occupations and how it's not exclusive to one gender. It's not exclusive to one race.
Right.
And again, you know, it's the more things change, the more things stay the same.
Yes. Let me ask you, have you ever been to Hooters?
I can safely say I have never been to a Hooters.
Me either. And
I've never been to a Hooters.
You know, I would assume that it's attractive to your stereotypical straight guy who likes beer, chicken wings,
and breasts.
And no interest for me. The only thing that would interest me would be the chicken wings. That's it. I don't like beer. And I have my own breasts, thank you. But, you know. And they were quite expensive, and they will never sag.
I hate you so much. I actually have a very interesting question for you.
Yes.
If they ever designed a restaurant where it would be geared towards women and our brand of human being, where it would be more about gorgeous men as waiters with very tight booty shorts and tank tops, would you partake?
I don't think so.
Neither would I.
I kind of like, I don't know, the whole idea of that sort of makes me feel uncomfortable.
The idea of objectification, I think, is our biggest problem with these establishments. Because, you know, we go to a restaurant to enjoy
the
other
food.
people's
Or the, you know, really
I don't go to enjoy the waiters and waitresses.
No. If I go someplace, it's got to be because I enjoy the food.
Yep.
And the food better be good.
Yes.
Because, you know, I consider myself quite a good cook. So if I'm going to go...
They're also fat asses. Let's not discount that. We also enjoy a good meal.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we take it as it comes. We're the type of people that enjoy food and conversation more than something pretty to look at.
Yeah. I'm like, no, I don't... You know, a hot guy in, like, a tank top and booty shorts is not going to dissuade me to enjoy like a meal that's
it's not going to enhance the experience.
Yeah. It's not going to take my mind off the fact that the food sucks.
No, that's true.
You know, let's face it. I don't care how hot the guy is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, if I paid $20 for an entree, it better be good. I don't care how tight your butt is, or you know, or how big your
wiener is.
Or your pet. Well, I was going to say pecs. But, you know, some of us go straight for the gutter.
Oh, my God. Listen, I live in the gutter, thank you very much. I grew up in the gutter.
All of us are in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars.
That'll get you for that time.
I know.
Speaking
That's Oscar Wilde, by the way.
Of course it is.
That is. It's Oscar Wilde. Very
famous queer writer.
Yes.
Wasn't it said that he tried to have a romantic affair with Hans Christian Andersen?
Oh, I don't know. I have to look that up.
I have to look that up too.
I
think they were around the same age, around the same time period. It's just potpourri for you.
Did he have a relationship with Bram Stoker too? I think I might have
I might have.
recently.
That's what I might be getting the two confused. Not Hans Christian Andersen, but Bram Stoker.
Yes, because honestly, like the original Dracula story, to me has very a lot of this homosexual undertones with.
When it comes to horror icons in general, they are all queer coded.
Yeah.
Frankenstein, Dracula, the werewolf, the Wolfman, I'm so sorry, the Wolfman, the creature from the Black Lagoon, they all smack of queer, queer coding.
Yes. Because especially for me, and I know we're veering off topic, but what the heck. Dracula, that whole thing of him, of Jonathan Harker coming to the castle, and, even though Dracula is sort of trying to set him up with the wives, the whole idea of him trying to
There's a lot of
sexually excite Jonathan Harker, even though he was using his brides, it was sort of like, well, it's still Dracula trying to, entice this guy, even though, but he had to use the brides as a way to make it socially acceptable. That it was still sort of a heterosexual thing. But to me, there was always
I hate the idea that and I'm so thankful for Interview with a Vampire because Interview with a Vampire made it more homoerotic.
Overt, yes.
Made it more overt and more obvious.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's interesting to see the evolution of horror icons through a queer scope. Peaches Christ actually does a phenomenal job of dissecting various horror movies through a queer lens. So that's
interesting.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I will appreciate any drag artist, any queer artist who would be willing enough to take a piece of media and sort of dissect it through the lens of being queer.
One of the most gay vampire movies, I don't know if you ever saw it, Fright Night with Roddy McDowell, Chris Sarandon.
Coming back. I think I understand.
What's Amanda Donahoe? I think it was Amanda Donahoe. Who was from Married with Children.
Yes.
I mean, so many of the cast were gay, and there's this scene with Chris Sarandon where he's trying to turn this he's about to turn this one young boy into a vampire, and it's the homosexual overtones or off the chart, but it's like one of the gayest horror movies you could ever see. If you have never seen it, I recommend it. It's a great movie. It really is.
I mean, one could almost say that Once Bitten with Jim Carrey. That's another queer coded.
Oh God! Well, also, who was it? Her second in command. Actor.
Yes.
Who I can't.
The name escapes me. But I know who
escapes me. About. But he was very,
flamboyant.
Yes. I remember he played. The character's name was Sebastian, and I remember when he's putting all the vampires to sleep, they're all like, "Good night, Sebastian. Good night, Sebastian." And then they all say together, "Good night, Sebastian."
Correct.
He was in Blazing Saddles, and I can't remember.
Oh.
With Gene Wilder.
No, I know. Oh, no.
It's going to kill me that I don't remember the name.
We're going to have to research. Come back. If you would like to tell us, you can email us at finleysruntheappliances@gmail.com.
Yes.
If you would like to follow us, we thank you, of course, for listening to God Will Get You for That, Walter. And we're so sorry for that tangent. But something? Tangents are fun.
That's what happens.
We like driving down them. It's great.
We got to throw in these little tidbits.
Yes. Potpourri. We give you potpourri all the time. And it smells delicious.
It does.
If you would like to follow us, you can at God Will Get You for That, Walter on Facebook, Finley's Friendly Appliances on Instagram, God Will Get You for That, Walter on YouTube. You can, again, email us at finleysfriendlyappliances@gmail.com. If you would like to follow me, you can at that Tomcat on all forms of social media on TikTok, Facebook. I'm eventually going to possibly get a Vimeo. I don't know. I don't know. There's so much social media. Where can they follow you, my love?
Just follow me at TonyHomeperm.com or anything, Toni Homeperm. And of course, that is
Tony with an I.
With an I.
Tony with an I.
With an I.
We thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on another episode of God Will Get You for That, Walter. Good night, guys.
Good night.